Recently, Palantir Technologies published a 22-point manifesto. Across those 22 points, the company argued that debate about AI weapons is theatrical and should stop, that the idea that people from different cultures and backgrounds have equal standing is shallow and hollow, and that some cultures are just inferior to others. Now, that last point got most of the headlines, but it's not necessarily even the most dangerous one. Palantir was founded in 2003 with money from the CIA. Its entire existence has been the business of surveillance, aggregating data about people, turning that data into decisions about what happens to people, and selling that capability to whoever will pay. Palantir has contracts with US immigration enforcement, and it has built targeting databases for the Israelis' operation in Gaza. These are the systems that help determine who gets killed. And you feel Palantir whether you know it or not. If you live in the UK, they manage NHS patient data and they have contracts with the British Police and the Ministry of Defense. In the US, it's embedded in immigration enforcement, military operations, and intelligence infrastructure. And across Europe, it has inserted itself into government systems, financial regulators, and public health infrastructure. Palantir was co-founded by Peter Thiel, and Thiel is worth understanding separately, because what he has done goes beyond any single company. In 2009, Thiel wrote under his own name that he no longer believes freedom and democracy are compatible. He then spent years and hundreds of millions of dollars acting on that belief. By funding J.D. Vance's political career, by secretly funding a series of lawsuits against Gawker Media when they reported on Thiel in ways he did not care for, as a strategy to bankrupt Gawker Media through litigation costs. And it worked. He later confirmed this publicly and expressed zero regret. There is so much more to say about Thiel, but that would require a full-length documentary. Thiel, however, is not alone. He is part of a pattern, and the most visible face of that pattern is Elon Musk. When Musk bought Twitter, he reinstated accounts banned for inciting violence, dismantled the teams responsible for content moderation, and turned the platform into an instrument for his own political agenda. He spent over $250 million backing Trump's 2024 campaign. He then ran Doge, which is not a government department, not confirmed by Congress, and it has no legal mandate, and sent teams into federal agencies to cut budgets, fire people, and access sensitive systems. When federal courts ruled some of what he did unlawful, he just continued. During the German elections, he hosted the leader of a party under surveillance by Germany's own domestic intelligence agency. But at least Musk is loud about what he is. Mark Zuckerberg, on the other hand, has spent years being quiet about it. Facebook knew about Cambridge Analytica's harvesting of 87 million users' data in 2015. It said nothing for 3 years. Internal documents leaked in 2021 showed that Meta's own researchers had documented the platform's role in teenage mental health damage, in spreading health misinformation, and in enabling ethnic violence in Myanmar. UN investigators concluded that Facebook played a determining role in spreading the incitement that contributed to the Rohingya genocide. And Facebook had been warned, but didn't act in time. Before the 2024 United States elections, Zuckerberg met Trump at Mar-a-Lago, then coincidentally dismantled Meta's fact-checking program and relaxed its hate speech policies. And then, of course, there's Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. When Altman was asked about AI eliminating 1 billion jobs, he suggested the work being eliminated might not be real work anyway. Altman has said that AI will probably most likely lead to the end of the world. He personally stockpiles guns, gold, potassium, iodide, antibiotics, water, gas masks, and has a patch of land he can fly to as preparation for the disaster scenarios he believes his own technology might cause. A recent New Yorker investigation based on more than 100 interviews described him as a man his own board member called unconstrained by truth, with a sociopathic lack of concern for the consequences of deceiving people. These are just some of the people who built the field. And when you look at them together, a pattern starts to emerge. They all move toward Trump and his allies before or during the 2024 elections. They have all used ownership or litigation to control what gets reported about them. And they have all demonstrated repeatedly and on the record that the rules governing everyone else do not apply to them. They are the ones building and controlling the infrastructure through which consequential decisions get made about you and me. But it would be a mistake to think this ends with them. The pattern, control what gets reported, control who gets elected, embed before anyone can object, is not unique to these men. It is how extreme concentrations of wealth operate. These are not exceptions within their class. They are merely its most visible examples. Which brings us to this question. Does it matter? Does it matter who builds the tools that we depend on? And if we use them, do we bear any individual responsibility? Iris Young is an American political theorist and sociologist who spent her career thinking about responsibility in conditions exactly like these. Young said that there is guilt and there is responsibility. Guilt is something that involves harm in the past tense. It's backwards looking and it requires that you personally cause the harm. Now, most people didn't personally cause any of this. They didn't build Palantir, they didn't buy Twitter, and they didn't dismantle the fact checkers. So under a guilt framework, most people are off the hook. But Young wasn't interested in guilt. She was interested in responsibility. And responsibility works differently. It's not about what you caused before this moment. It's about what you are part of in this moment and going forward. If you participate in a structure that produces harm, and the harm is ongoing, then according to Young, you bear responsibility proportional to your capacity to act. You don't have to have done anything wrong yourself. Participation is enough. And yes, governments have more capacity than companies, and companies have more capacity than individuals. But according to Young, none of us are exempt. I'm sure you've heard of the phrase, separate the art from the artist, or in this case, the builder or owner from the tech. Now, this can sometimes be a defensible position. A dead composer's music no longer funds his worldview or immoral actions, because the active harm has stopped. But that logic only holds when the harm has indeed stopped, when said artist is no longer in a position to cause it. You cannot, and I would say should not, separate the art from the artist while the artist is still making money or gaining influence through the art, or in this case, the tech. So while Palantir's targeting databases are still running, while the infrastructure is still embedded in your hospital, your police force, your financial regulator, and so on. So the answer to the question, does it matter, is, in Young's view, yes, it does matter. Because the NHS administrator who renews the Palantir contract, or the HR director who implements the hiring algorithm, or the government that chooses not to regulate AI, but also the individual who uses these tools every day without asking whose infrastructure they are making more powerful. All of us participate in the machinery as it runs. And Young would say that that is enough to generate responsibility. Not guilt, but responsibility. The distinction matters because guilt is paralyzing, while responsibility leaves room for action. Action that can be taken by anyone with any type of capacity to name what is happening, to ask questions out loud, to push back inside the institutions they work in, to demand their government accounts for the contracts it signs in their name, and to make informed individual choices. The people who built the tech are who they are. There is no argument there. The question that remains open is what you are going to do with being inside it. Because Young's answer wasn't to opt out. She knew that that option wasn't available to most people. Her answer was to act from where you are, to know what you are part of, and to let that knowledge change one decision. Which contract you sign, which questions you ask, which politician you hold to account for the infrastructure they are building in your name. And that is something you can start doing today. Because those in charge won't stop themselves. They apparently don't possess the humanity to do so. But you do.